live at Pompeii on the last day in this year, um, in the year 2020. How are you out there? So we have 11 participants. Most of them are probably Secret Service. Anyhow, feel welcome. So if you are doing that on your job base or just in your space time. Yeah. How are you, Heidi?
I am doing good like every day.
Okay.
I am fine.
Okay.
Have no expectation.
Good. What's going on in the States?
You know, there's so much going on. There's not much to say. You have to wait and see. So many information, disinformation.
So, and it's
We don't
always
know.
about waiting and
Keep,
hoping.
and keeping people busy.
Yes, it's quite intelligent.
Mhm.
Hoping, and did this vaccination started in the States already?
Well, I heard that there some, but not mandatory or anything. So I don't know what's going on with that. I know people are, especially in the healthcare business, that they are going for vaccines. They are
Yes.
having it.
Mhm.
They are willing to do it.
Okay.
I have no problem with that if they want to have it. I don't. My problem is only I don't want to be forced. Whoever is going free will, that's your choice.
Okay. And do you think that you will be forced?
I hope not.
Yes. And if you don't hope, and
Yeah.
what's your feeling that will you be forced to be vaccinated?
Right now, I feel no.
Okay, so it's about traveling, going to supermarket, going theater, cinema like that.
Yeah, I think they cannot. There's too much going on. People are awake. You only hear always the other side talking louder. You know, the ones who are for it, for the vaccine, and who are going, and the propaganda people are on TV like they have their shots taken, and this side is much louder than the other side. Well, that's my personal opinion.
Okay.
Propaganda machine works. Always did.
Question perhaps before now. Why is such a video cartoon produced? Why do you think? What's the reason for that? Does anybody know why something like that is produced in the first place? Why?
It could be that they show us what could happen, and then they tell you, we told you, we showed it to you on TV, you saw it. We
So Anna,
prepared you with certain movies.
okay, so why do you think somebody is producing something like that? Anna, what do you think? Why? Okay, so why was such a movie like cartoon like iPad Goat produced in the first place? Meral, tell me.
It was definitely produced to show us how to get out of the matrix.
Could you be more precise?
This film was produced to show us in a metaphorical way how the Messiah will free the people.
Okay.
And we need to analyze it, especially you and Anna and Trinity need to put your ideas together, because it only works when you two meet. And from your both ideas, the exit will open up in our hearts, so to say.
Okay. Could you be even more?
Set the fire.
Pardon once again?
It was produced to set the fire.
Okay. So, do we have more ideas? I think there's a list of reasons why it had been done.
Okay, of course, another reason is that you have proof, you know. It makes no sense to have, proof, you know, this word proof is not really scientific. But it could also be produced to show the people, so you have instruments. It's not only a message for you and you both, but it's also to show that there is a higher intelligence, because all of these synchronicities are so correct and they're in so many ways so magnificently produced to show you and me and the whole world that this is real, that the seventh dimension is real, because all of this exaggeration or the mass of indices could only be produced by a higher dimension.
So, reasons. I would put it in the word proof of higher dimension. I call it 70. Though the way this cathedral breaks down is exactly the way the Notre Dame de Paris break down. Yeah. And so for my idea, the main thing is that there might be a guy who's a chosen one. And this chosen one has to make it clear for himself that he is a chosen one. I think this is the main idea behind that. Are you going along with that?
Yes, of course.
So this is really the main idea. Because the chosen one has to identify himself.
Yeah.
No normal guy on this world or normal lady on this world would come to the idea that he or she is the chosen one. I don't know from anybody who would come, an idea springs to mind that he might be the chosen one who has to save the world now. Yeah, this is so far from normal thinking. But imagine there is somebody who really sees that's me. And then he has to ask, what's going on here? I think it's important. It's important to understand this is information from higher dimension. It's the way higher dimension is communicating with us.
It's so obvious. Even the producer says he doesn't understand what he did.
Endet mit dem Erwachen des Messias und dem Einsturz alter religiöser Strukturen.
So look on that. You know, it's all about that we understand that we are guided from a higher dimension. We have to do now some things which are guided by a higher dimension. It's like in Matrix where Neo or Trinity has a phone and is instructed. And I think it's very important that we do understand that. Their information from a higher dimension. And there's a way, an information channel, which we have to identify. Because there are also information channels which don't work. And if you're looking outside, many people are interlinked, are linked to information channels that don't work or work toward the wrong side, work for their disadvantage. Do you understand that? We have to combine belief and science. And we have to understand what God is. We have to get an idea, what is this higher dimension? What is God? Who is guiding us? And this iPad code is all about the Messiah. So once again, this happened in April last year, and this was in 2012. So there must be knowledge about our future. There must be a higher dimension. There must be something on a higher dimension which has an overview about past, present, and future. We are now a little bit in a trap. In this world, something happens now, which we do not like, is it? And it seems that something terrible is happening. And it seems that millions of Americans, of Germans, of British, of Israeli people, and so on, are being killed. So we are witnessing something terrible. And doesn't it make sense to understand what is happening, understand the plan, and do something to destroy this plan? And, you know, from my background, I'm a scientist. And a scientist is somebody who gets really big ears and big eyes when he's seeing or listening to something which he doesn't understand. And things that happening at the moment are outside of our normal thinking box. So we have to expand our box of thinking. And so inside the box in which we are accustomed to think, we don't have a we don't have any solution for the things which do happen at the moment. Is it? So we have to expand our box. And we have to think about several possibilities. And one possibility is, yes, there's a higher dimension. There's something like God. And this God, as it depicted here, this is a storyline, is sending us a Messiah. And this Messiah might heal the world, might save the world. This story is big. This story is beyond the imagination of 99.9999999% of the people. Come on, these are just, it's just a common way of thinking. We see something is happening very, very big on this earth, on the face of the earth. And we have to understand that. And we have to get an idea what's going on here. And we have to pose the question, is it really possible that the Messiah is coming? And this Messiah might heal the world. So once again, it makes sense to analyze the situation and a possible plan how to escape out of the situation. And we are working now for some time on that there is a higher dimension offering us a blueprint how to get out. And if we come to a conclusion that there is really a blueprint from a higher dimension, do you think it makes sense to follow through? Is there any better plan on that? If there is a higher dimension who is transmitting information to us, can you think of anything which gives us a better probability to succeed? So if there is a higher dimension having a blueprint, transmitting this blueprint to us to solve the problem, to save humanity, shall we go for that and analyze that, or what shall we do? I'm just posing a question. Just quite reasonable. And it seems, if you look on the numbers from the Deagle list, from Georgia Guidestones, from this idiocracy to vaccinate all mankind without knowing what the long-term effects are. We know that we are living in a time where this civilization may end. I think that should be clear for everybody. And, you know, today I saw a guy selling shares of some companies or from vaccination companies and so on. And you have to buy this and you have to buy that. And I ask myself, what he's talking about? How stupid is this guy? Doesn't he recognize we are living really in the end time? There are a lot of people, they are living in a way as nothing had happened. So there must be a group of people, yeah, to think about what's going on. They have to analyze the situation. They have to analyze what's really going on. And they have to come to a conclusion what has to be done. I love this quote. This is beautiful. Mm. Does this make sense? There's so much information out there. What's wrong and what's ridiculous, but that's not enough. It's not enough to show people how crazy the world is. We have to come to an idea what's going on and what has to be done. So the question is, why do so few people think about really what's going on? Think just about, yeah, come together and make a protest. So somebody has to do something. And if nobody's doing something, we have to start something. Maybe others are doing things which are smart, which are intelligent, and we agree to join. But if there's nobody starting something, we have to start something. Though there's so much videos out there, informing us all about this ridiculous thing out there, outside. But that's not a solution. I don't want any negative information without having a solution. That is stupid. Only broadcasting negative informations without giving an idea about the solution. So somebody has to think about a solution. Is this common thinking? Is this common sense? Does it make sense to wait and wait and wait and wait and people get injected with something they don't know, which might destroy their fertility? So I'm asking myself, why are people listening to news channels which just inform about the stupid and ridiculous things which are happening out there? And, you know, this iPad Goat stuff is about what this investigator, this Norm Investigativ, is telling. This movie, this cartoon is about the Messiah. Is it possible? Is it possible that the Messiah is coming? And this Messiah is instructed by a higher dimension. Like Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity is instructed in this Matrix movie. And I'm questioning myself, why so few people think about that? Why so many people listening to normal broadcasting channels where they just get negative information? where they just get information which put them down. It's like this. I'm sorry, Annie, when you are talking to somebody else, yeah, and when you are not listening here, it might be nice to shut down your camera. Ja, machst du weg. So the question is, we as a civilization have a problem. And it seems we have a quite big problem.
Very big problem.
And why are so few people identifying there's a problem, don't search for solutions? Why are there religions which call themselves messianic, believe in a type of Messiah, and don't look for Messiah?
I think a lot of it's much easier to turn on the TV and they get the information from there, because then they don't have to think for themselves and they believe in what they see, it's the truth. So, and the others are searching and looking into other things. And so it's a convenience or laziness or no time. There are different reasons why people are not taking the time or don't have the time to do their own research. You know?
So, yes, also in alternative media, yeah, you get alternative information, yeah, but there is nothing about solutions. You have to protest, you have to weaponize yourself and attack the police and stuff like that. And so if you use your common sense, you know that this is stupid.
I understand you, and I think everybody who is here understands you. Otherwise, we would not be here. But the majority of people, they don't get it.
It's not the majority. We are 22 people.
You're good. Now it's a special day for a lot of people who want to celebrate. For me, it doesn't mean anything.
For me,
you know.
too. Yeah.
So
what do they celebrate? Do they
I don't know.
celebrate the year of destruction?
It's no reason to celebrate. I understand that.
Yeah, you know, if I gain a goal, yeah, if I reach something, I celebrate.
Yeah,
But I don't celebrate because everybody else is celebrating something.
exactly.
You know, and they are celebrating Christmas. And Christmas is about the Christian Messiah.
Yeah.
But are we safe? Are we saved because somebody 2000 years ago did some stuff?
No.
No. So I would like to celebrate. I would like to celebrate our victory. Yeah. But I don't celebrate something because everybody is celebrating something which he has no idea about why he's celebrating something, because there's nothing to celebrate about.
They are accustomed and educated to do everything everybody else does, and then they are satisfied and they did what they could, and that's it. And they have no thinking at all, and they feel just so great because they do everything. They are informed what everybody knows. So it goes like that. There is
Okay.
not only no thinking, there is no heart, nothing. There is just imitation.
So, you know, there are 7.5 billion people out there. And how many of those are wearing masks, are scared about this coronavirus and thinking about this vaccination, where Bill Gates is telling the people everybody needs that, and who really understand that? And as a scientist, I'm a little bit pissed off when this non-scientist, Bill Gates, talks about biochemistry. I'm a chemist, yes? And I would, if I would be in a discussion with this Bill Gates guy, I would destroy him. Or with this guy Fauci, I would destroy him. I had a talk with a medical doctor who is very much experienced in vaccination 6 months ago, and I destroyed him. Though he asked how many people did listen. So he could not give me one example where a vaccination really worked against the virus. This guy called der Kinderarzt vom Bodensee, who positioned himself as a specialist for vaccination. And we had a talk and then asked him about examples, proven examples where vaccination do work against the virus. And he brags about that he vaccinated about 35,000 people, foremost children. And he has no example. Yeah. So for me as a scientist and a chemist who applies chemical logic, it pisses me off when a guy like Bill Gates, who has no idea about chemistry, yeah, and I would like his certificate in high school or something like that, and his mark in chemistry. I would like to see that. Yeah. So, I studied chemistry, yes, and even stupid guys, yeah, make it. But there are no so many smart guys. No, stupid guys don't get these marks in school. Yeah. So I have a problem if this Bill Gates guy is telling me what I have to think about chemistry and biochemistry. And there's a guy called Drosten. I want to see his marks in chemistry in school. Because, I was really a lazy guy, but I do understand chemistry. And I have a problem when somebody who does not understand chemistry tells me about chemistry. Do you understand that? So do you think it makes sense that everybody who's going public talks about viruses and stuff like that, is publishing his marks in school? Do you think it makes sense? Because I have a problem if somebody who is stupid, who do not understand chemistry, want to teach me about chemistry. Yeah. And so from my perspective, there are people in the public telling us about chemistry, about biochemistry, about virology. We don't know the first thing about chemistry and virology. And for me, it does not make sense when stupid people are pushed into public talks just bullshit. So should we make a public movement that those people who talk about viruses and some stuff like that, showing us their certificate in school, just in school. It's not about just, yeah, I have a degree in chemistry, because quite openly, quite frankly, there are really stupid people studying chemistry or medicine. I want their certificate in chemistry. So, and I come to the conclusion that what they are doing at the moment, is extremely dangerous. And it might end our civilization. And so we have a problem. We have to understand that problem. And when we have to find a solution for this problem. And this problem is perhaps outside of the box of normal thinking. And many people think about believe in God. However, God is a being in a higher dimension. Yes? So I don't know exactly what God is, but God is a being in a higher dimension. And this being has an overview over future, present, and past. So is it possible that this being is transmitting us information? Important information how to solve the problem. So is it now time to stop collecting information, how shitty the situation is? Or is it time to think about solutions? Is it time to think about, do we receive information from a higher dimension, which we just not recognize, which is there, and we fade it out? We are not able, we ignore it to see, we ignore God. So we listen to religion, to what God told Jesus 2000 years ago, but we do not listen to what God is telling us these days. Do we need information about what God was telling Jesus 2000 years ago? Or do we need the information what God is telling us now? Because, you know, it might be like a game of chess. And we, as humankind, as mankind, may have an enemy, that is playing around with us, is using us. And do you think that God has now information for us which is different according to the information 2000 years before. Is this possible? So, do you think it's useful to look into the Bible if you want to solve the problem now, or is it smart to look on information, actual information, which we have to receive and to decode now? So this is quite straightforward thinking. It's not far-fetched. It's normal.
Yeah. If we really want it, we'll get it, but we have to want it and not make excuses and getting out somewhere.
You know, there are 7.5 billion people on this planet. And nobody is searching for information from God. So, do we have to state nobody's believing in God? There's nobody who's believing in God. They are believing in an idea what God is, but nobody is believing in God. Because if somebody would believe in God, he would look for any hint, and he would look on something like that, and yeah, this is information from a higher dimension. And this is something where I'm quite curious about. Why is nobody searching for God? Why is nobody searching for information coming from God? You know, because nobody's believing in God.
Because
They,
nobody does it.
they just move their lips and they go into church or wherever, and in church there are specialists studying old scriptures, telling the people what Jesus was teaching 2000 years ago in a total different time area. But if you really believe in God, you have to ask which information God is giving us now. And for me, this is a little bit stupid. Is it? Why do we think that the scriptures, what God told Jesus 2000 years ago, or whoever, or Moses or Mohammed, is helping us these days? If God is a living being and we might have an enemy, God has to tell us now the things we have to do. He has to guide us now. Is this idea so far-fetched? So we have to come to the conclusion nobody's believing in God. They believe in a very unlogical idea of God, but not that God is a living being who really loves and cares for us. if God cares for us, he have to care for us in this very moment. Does that make sense? So, and is it possible that God has his influence in stuff like that? It might be not all God, it might be some manipulation in there. But the question is, are these kinds of informations, because this is the information channel in these days. Has God his fingers in movies like that? Or movies like Matrix? How the idea that we have to learn about the teachings of God 2000 years ago in a circumstance which is totally different from the circumstance now. What is this good for? And when religions like the, how you call it, the Judaic, the Hebraic, the Judaistic religion, is teaching about the Messiah. This Messiah will come and save us. Why don't they look for the Messiah when this movie is all about the Messiah?
I don't think that it is very different. What you said 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, it's always the same, but it is to our circumstances different. But in fact, the sense of it and its being is always the same. For me, it's eternal.
Yes, Erika, this is the way you think, and this is your problem.
No?
Because if there is another being, if there is an enemy on a higher dimension, an enemy who misuses us, who enslaves us,
This is not God. This for me not God. This is another being, as you say.
however, on a level similar to God.
And higher
Yeah.
being.
And you know, Erika, this is the idea. There's God and there's a teaching, and you have to apply it, and then it's all good. Erika, sorry to make it quite frankly, but I think this is stupid.
I didn't say that. There is
Yeah.
one, but it's not quite good. It's always to be felt newly every day.
For this reason, if we believe in a living God,
Living,
this living God gives us different informations in different circumstances.
Exactly the same what I feel and said.
Okay, thanks.
Exactly.
And so we have to find the information God is sending to us. And is it possible that God is sending us information via such movies, via such pieces of music? And this is what this guy, Alexander Laurent, is telling us in his interviews, that there is a higher being on a higher dimension. And this higher being sends us information in a way where our enemy cannot interrupt this communication. And we have to decode this information.
I have a question with that.
Yes.
So if because if you know, all the Hollywood films, they go through the agency. So whatever comes out, they want to make a point. So if this comes from a higher dimension, would this pass by you know what agency I'm talking about? Would this pass by this agency? So they are not aware where this information is coming from. I have there a little bit, you know what I mean?
Okay. So Heidi, do you think God is smart?
Sure.
Good. Then he will find a way to that this information gets through. Then he will find a smart way to inform us about the things we have to do. And you might think you don't like this movie or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's always information coming from a higher dimension for the right people. You know, if this is information for, let's see, bad people, look in really bad movies where there are no it's like in business, yeah, you have your target group, and I don't think God is sending informations to people who like to watch porno, yeah, or horror movies. I don't think that, but I think God is sending information via special movies. Yes, they are hidden. They are hidden informations. And we have to collect and extract those hidden informations. We have to identify movies or pieces of music where God interfered. Um, is this way of thinking so far-fetched, so far away from common thinking? So is God a living being or is God an institution? So our churches, religions, try to make us believe God is an institution. And they are the transmitters or the translators of the information God is giving to us. And the information God is giving to us is all times the same. But this doesn't make any sense. And if you believe in Jesus, yeah, that Jesus was a son of God. And through Jesus, God gave the people in these days information what they have to do in order to free themselves a little bit or whatever. So if God is a living being, a higher being from a higher dimension, God must transmit information to us now because we are in a dire situation. No, I'm just speak from the top of my head. And if you believe in Jesus and not just in Jesus, but the process, yeah, there was a guy, yeah, who got the information from God and published it to people, teach people about that. Then if some religions who believe in a Messiah does it make sense what this movie is showing us? There is a Messiah, a second Jesus, and he should be here now because the situation is dire. And he receives information and is publishing this information to us. And this is what all religions are teaching. A new Messiah will come. And this new Messiah has to come exactly in these days. And is there more logic about it than you ever thought? Is it perhaps, did God had its influence in the building of the pyramids? Did God has his fingers in the, how you call it, in the directions, in the orientations of the pyramids? Where if we look on the pyramid, they are now perfectly orientated to north and south. So is God telling us now is a situation where the new Messiah is coming and will tell you about my plan? So you think God is manipulating individual people to do that and to do that and to do that? Or is God a higher being designing a plan and transmitting this plan to us? Mach den mal weg, den. Zappa Daniel, do you want to disrupt me? So if you show your picture or your movie or something like that, yeah, I would like to see your face. But if you give me light signals, which just distracts me, you shall cut off your camera. So I'm just applying common thinking. And I think every priest in the church should use common thinking. Who really cares what God told Jesus 2000 years ago? And whatever from that religious teaching by copying and recopying did with that. And so again, coming back to here, is it possible that there's a Messiah here? And this Messiah is informed about to be the Messiah. And he gets by symbolism, by the language of some symbolics, an idea what he has to do. This Messiah has to have a channel, an idea how to get this information. This Messiah has to know that he is a Messiah. And this Messiah also has to get the information what he has to do. So what I'm doing is just logical thinking. If God is a living being, and God had a son 2000 years ago who did something very positive, and this son's called Jesus. Does it make sense that God is again sending a son who has to try now, or his assignment is now to save the world, to save this crazy world from destruction at this very moment in time? Is it possible that the pyramids give the indication that this is exactly the time where this influence from God, from this higher dimension, is now flowing in?
Set the controls for the heart of the sun.
It might be the sun.
The sun or the sun?
The sun's on. So in this area, this guy called Alexander Laurent made some interviews and talks about higher dimensions. And if you really listen to him, he talks about the return of a Messiah, the Messiah. And it's about this movie. And the Messiah also has several names. Another name of the Messiah is the Chosen One. And the Chosen One has his counterpart called Trinity. So does it make sense to look out for Trinity and the Chosen One? Or if you don't believe in Trinity, look out for the Chosen One. Or do we come to the conclusion that this movie Matrix really tells a lot about the real situation? And if we going back to the Bible and the story about Jesus, Jesus would never ever be Jesus without Maria Magdalena. Well, in other words, Trinity. So we have to ask ourselves, shall we look out for Chosen One and Trinity? Shall we look out for a couple which what I would conclude are living love? Though the main goal or the main assignment of Trinity and the Chosen One is to bring love again on this planet.
But this is, it's only my thinking.
Yeah.
If there is a God, and God is in us, so we have the essence of that. And then there's the Messiah, who is his son. And all what Jesus wanted to teach is love. So maybe it means that we can all be kind of the, I don't want to call it the Messiah, but help to awaken, because we have to awaken the love in us so we can radiate it out to others. And there is way too much programming still going on where people
Okay.
are hooked on material things, jealousy, hate, all the words what they use.
Yes.
And
Exactly. You know, Heidi, did you understand how much you just contradicted yourself?
that I contradicted myself.
Yes.
Why?
Jesus and God is in us. But then in the next moment you said jealousy and envy
Yeah,
and
because people are programmed.
yes, and
We have to come out of that.
what's about to state that God is not in us? There's something else in us. That this program is much stronger than God. God tries to get in us, but God is not in us. We are apart from God.
Yeah,
We
that's
get
what I mean.
we are we have been told God is in us. And sorry, what is in us is extremely destructive. When I look outside there, I don't see God.
Oh,
So, and I come to conclusion
okay.
God is not in us. And if I try to understand the Bible and the story of Jesus or whatever, then the only way is that God gets again the way into us, or we get the way towards God, is to look, watch out for the Messiah, to teach us again how to get in contact with God. I don't see God out there. I don't see love out there. I see prostitution. I see legal prostitution, you call it the marriage. I don't see love out there. I
That's
don't,
actually what I meant.
yes, so then God is not in us. We shall not believe that God is in us. There's something else in
We,
us.
we we are created from God.
Yes,
So we are an essence of Him. But we let destroy through other things, we let destroy our essence. That's what I mean. Maybe
yes,
we have to awaken that in us, this love. So the whatever else is programming us or call it the AI or whatever, or the goo, or to get rid of that. And I think we can only when we find the true love in us, and then we can radiate it.
so
That's so.
why did we need Jesus in the first place? Why was Jesus here? What's about Jesus?
Maybe he was here to teach that, and people didn't understand it.
No, Jesus was not to teach us. Jesus was here to lead us out of the problem. Jesus was the transmitter because God lost us. And Jesus has to come on the earth, on the planet,
Yeah, but
to teach us these days what has to be done. And it needs another Jesus or a real Messiah or a
Obviously,
real.
Jesus didn't do the job.
hmm?
Or do you see God on the planet? He didn't finish the job, or he couldn't make it. So it's now. We have to do it now.
What does it make sense to celebrate a guy who lived 2000 years ago, where we don't really know what he was teaching, in what circumstance? Or does it make sense to believe in a living being called God? And this God brings again his son down to earth. And this guy is telling you, teaching you what you have to do. Because mankind is outside of God. God is gone. It's just about logical thinking. You know, I don't want to bring up a discussion about nothing. I want to bring out a discussion to solve the problem. So, is this God thing a kind of education, a kind of intellectual competition? Or is this God thing something really down to earth, where we now get the plan what we have to do? Is this more metaphorical or spiritual, better feeling, yeah, we are connected to God and bullshit? Or is it something which really helps us now out of our dilemma? And I think this is all about. And I think this believing in the teaching of Jesus, if you really believe that, the conclusion is something, a Son of God has to return now. And he tells you what you have to do. And this guy receives a plan from his father, from God. And for me, any other idea, thinking about Jesus and God, don't make any sense. And if I understand the story of Jesus and about this love thing, it must be a couple. Jesus is not just a man. It must be a man and a woman. It's a story not about just Jesus, but about Jesus and Maria Magdalena. And what's depicted in Matrix, it's about the chosen one and Trinity. And it's about how they receive information from a higher dimension.
Hallo Andreas.
Ja. Was?
Ja, ich hatte mich gerade eingeschaltet und wieder ausgeschaltet.
Ja.
Ich bin nicht der englischen Sprache mächtig, aber ich kann sie intuitiv sehr gut nachvollziehen.
Ja.
Ich empfinde alles das, was du sagst, als relativ normal und intuitiv sehr, sehr konstruktiv. Aber das, was ich sehe, letztendlich ist das, dass die Menschen dadurch verfremdet werden. Ich weiß nicht, wie ich es ausdrücken kann. Das ist
Also,
ganz
Anne,
schwierig.
Anni, wenn du sprichst, schalt mal deine Kamera ein. Ich habe dich vorhin ausgeschaltet, weil,
Okay, ich schalte ein. Ich schalte mal die Kamera ein.
ja,
Okay,
also,
hallo.
Anni, nochmal,
Also ich bin schon seit längerer
Anni,
Zeit.
ganz kurz, ganz kurz. Ich finde es unhöflich, wenn du hier zuguckst, deine Kamera anschaltest und telefonierst, woanders bist. Wenn ich
Ich
nur
bin nicht
Leute,
woanders.
ja, das warst du aber vorhin, deshalb habe ich die Kamera bei dir ausgemacht. Ja,
Okay,
nur zur Information. Ja,
okay.
ähm, es irritiert mich, wenn Menschen hier zuhören, ja, aber gerade woanders sind, ja, weil ich mit euch spreche.
Ich bin nicht woanders. Ich bin voll dabei. Ich bin seit
Hi,
mehreren
Anni,
Stunden hier.
Anni, jetzt ja, das war vorhin, als du telefoniert hast. Ja,
Habe
okay.
ich nicht.
Anni, komm.
Nee, habe ich nicht.
Ja, brauchen uns nicht darüber unterhalten, aber ich habe es jetzt einfach mal gesagt. Um, it's about, we have to understand God. We have to understand the technology, the system of God. And we have to understand those who misuse God. There are so many people out there who put them into a position where they are the media, the antenna of God. And we have to get a reasonable idea what God is. And if you just use your logical capacity of thinking and you believe in Jesus as the Son of God, then the technology is God wants to send you information, us information. And he needs a loudspeaker, a media, a guy or a couple, a woman and a man who's broadcasting this information by God. And the question is how God transmit information into our dimension. Because when I'm looking outside, I don't see God. I don't see a human God. But I do see a inhuman God. Somebody what Alexander Laurent is talking about. That there is something in a higher dimension who acts or who pretends to be God but is not God. And if there's a God, and I do believe in God, the question is how we get this information from God. And for me, it makes sense what is in this Matrix movie described. Jesus is not just Jesus, but Jesus is Maria Magdalena and Jesus. The Jesus these days, the Messiah these days, is the chosen one and Trinity. And we have to find this couple. We have to find Trinity and Messiah, chosen one. And this is depicted here, and this is depicted in shadow. And you know, for me, it's so straightforward logic. And we have to start again our logic thinking. We do prayers, but what's that all about? Do we pray to the real human loving God? Or to whom do we pray? To whom do we pray? To whom do we send our energy, our prayers? Do we send our prayers to the wrong consciousness? If there is a God, I don't see this God outside. So don't tell me that you believe in God. There is no God. No God I'm proud of. No God I would obey. This what I do see outside there is Satan. Yeah? And then what does it mean to fight Satan? Does it make sense to find God? Why shall we fight Satan? Why shall we fight? We shall look for God. We should look for Messiah, for Trinity and chosen one. You know, you get this teaching, God is inside of you. Maybe not. But this God which is inside of you seems to be Satan.
With the chosen one, with also is choose is also that you have to choose if you wanna find God or live with God, whatever it means to you, or if you want to serve Satan. That's what I understand with that you can choose, and people choose.
No, Heidi, stop. No, it's not what you choose or what you choose or what you choose. It's what God chose. Have chosen.
Yeah, but many people made another choice.
Yeah, but this choice is bullshit.
I
You
know.
have to identify the guy who God has chosen.
Ich kann nur Deutsch, aber Zehntausende Menschen empfangen viele Sachen, die für normale Menschen einfach nicht real sind, aber sie empfangen sie.
Ja, die
Und
haben
einfach transportieren.
Das ist auch Teilprogramm.
Sure. In Matrix, you see they all receive satanic information. The whole story about Jesus is there's a son of God who gets the information, who gets the master plan. And if you think about logic, it must be one master plan. It's the chosen one and the chosen woman, called Trinity. And if you try to understand, if you want to get the story of Jesus in a nutshell, it's logic. That there is a guy connected to this higher dimension and a lady who brings you information which nobody else can bring you. There were not many Jesus, it was one Jesus. For me, Jesus is not one but two. Jesus would be nothing without Maria Magdalena. If the core of the teaching of Jesus was love, do you think he masturbated all the time? You know, if you want to teach love, you have to have your object of love or your subject of love. You have to show the world how love really works. So Jesus needs Maria Magdalena. Do you think he stands in the middle of the church and masturbates? Or do you think he had a woman where he expressed all time his love and show his love? And both showed their love. And so spread love over the world. So otherwise you just talk about love. But you know, you have to feel love. And there's no other way to really feel love as a man as for your woman. And yes, if you have this love with a woman, with one woman, yeah, you have to irradiate love also to others. But you have to climb the mountain. And this is the woman of your love, the woman of your life. It does not work in another way. It's not logic. It must be a couple. And must have been a couple which really irradiates love, where everybody saw this is real love. They really love each other. They're not acting. They're connecting in pure love. I'm just logical. I'm just logic. So is this so far-fetched? This is quite simple thinking. If Jesus was the man who really brought love over the world, it must be a couple who show the people what love really is. Because this couple felt love for each other. And it's not the hippie stuff. Today I have sex with you, tomorrow with you, and after that, and yeah, there was also some love. No. You don't start with sex, you start with love. And then you have the perfect sex. But you have to start with love. And I think this is what Matrix is all about. It was a couple. And this couple has to spread love. And might be the Messiah has some smart ideas. How to survive, how to get this information out. But that there's really a savior. And he has a plan. And this plan comes from a higher dimension. And one column in this plan is to not just spread love, but to show love. To give an example of love. So Jesus was nobody who talked about love in the first place, but he experienced love. And this love was the love of a woman, was a love between a woman and a man about this energy. Love is energy. Otherwise, it's just a word. No, love is energy. So, and Jesus and Maria Magdalena had this energy, had this extreme connection. And it's all about this extreme connection, this absolute love. So there's nothing stronger than the love between Trinity and Chosen One. There's nothing stronger in this world. And this energy Jesus could talk about because he felt it. He was so deep down in love with Maria Magdalena, or Chosen One in Trinity. And this is what Matrix is about. And this is also a problem, because people were jealous and how we call it, envy. They envied them. People are striving for money and something like that. But this is just, how you call it, I don't know the word. It's something instead. When you don't know what love really is, you need something else instead.
Substitute.
Yes, thanks, Erika. A substitute. And this is the disease of our society. People are looking for substitutes for the real thing. Nothing is as strong as a true love, and this is not moving lips. So we have to look for this couple who really brings love again on this planet. We really have to look out for the Chosen One and Trinity. And this is what Jesus was all about. And you don't need a Bible with thousands of pages. Just talking without feeling. And go out, look what the priests are doing with small children. What the Pope is talking about. Jesus would never ever be Jesus without the love of Maria Magdalena. And chosen one would never be chosen one with a love without the love of Trinity. So actually I wanted to do today some more analysis about Matrix, but I think we shall postpone it to tomorrow. So Trinity, I love you. I love you so much. I can't express you how much I love you. So have a big hug, and we see us tomorrow. Thanks for being here.
Good night.